I was working on this client. She was divorced. She was working her butt off. She wanted to pay for private school for her kid, and I was spending all of these hours helping her prepare to talk to her ex-husband. And one of my managers at the time said, this person is not bringing enough revenue for you to be working on her. And I'm like, that is absolute BS. And so that's kind of where the fire started to burn. Like, I wanted to support women.
Welcome to Life Changing Money, a podcast all about one of the most taboo topics in the world, money. I'm your host, Barbara Strehand, and we're going behind the scenes on business owners' journeys to money, success, and wealth. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Life Changing Money. I am so excited to have the Wealth Collaborative here.
Yay! We're excited.
And both of you.
And on the way here, we were just talking about how, years ago when we started our business, we were truly fangirling over the Life Changing Money podcast because we knew we wanted to be on the podcast one day. We said that on the way here.
We're our career crush. You still are.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Speaking of, you guys don't live in the same state,
No.
but are business partners. How did that come to be?
It's a crazy story. So we essentially got connected through a mutual career mentor. Allie and I both had corporate careers working in traditional wealth management, and we had a coach that was working with female financial advisors. Never knew each other for 7 years. She introduced us, and we decided after the Wealth Collaborative was born that it just made sense for us to partner and do it together. And so we met 2 weeks later, and we had our husband and Allie's fiance come, and it was like love, partnership at first sight. It was crazy.
Wow. Was this coach paid for by the firms you worked at?
Yeah.
So not for me. I found her on the side because she didn't contract with our firm, but she developed women to stay in the industry. And she's really the reason why I'm still in finance today.
When you started, did you know very clearly, I only want to work with female founders?
I would say it definitely evolved. That was the whole mission getting out of traditional wealth management, was to create a firm that could serve business owners, because a lot of business owners aren't served by financial advisors unless they're really close to having an exit, because it means they're going to have a lot of cash in their pocket soon to reinvest. So I knew that these business owners that were at the beginning stages, that were scaling fast, needed advice and guidance. And so that was the mission behind starting it for that. But Allie and I have really developed such a passion for working specifically with female founders that are really on a mission themselves. So we love working with brands that are really going places.
Yeah, and I was actually in a place where I had developed this passion for supporting women. I remember I was working on this client. She was divorced. She was working her butt off, and she wanted to pay for private school for her kid, and I was spending all of these hours helping her prepare to talk to her ex-husband. And one of my managers at the time,
a money therapist.
Yes.
I always say all of us are truly just money therapists.
Yes. And one of my managers at the time said, this person is not bringing enough revenue for you to be working on her. And I'm like, that is absolute BS. And so that's kind of where the fire started to burn. I wanted to support women. I got introduced to Hannah 2 days before I had planned to quit my job.
Wow. Divine
Timing. And she was really the one who was in this female founder space, which I felt very connected to because I'm a third generation entrepreneur. But I didn't even see that for myself. So she really opened my eyes to us women in business.
I have a really similar story. I was working at an accounting firm, and there was this couple that had a business. They actually did YouTube video reviews for toys. And I knew that they were going to lose their house if they didn't save in taxes. And the firm that I worked at was like, you need to stop creating a tax plan for them because they're not paying us for that. And I was just like, what? In the actual, they just don't care. But I love that, we're all on, just the value first mentality for sure. I would love to know, because not a lot of partnerships work out, at least in my experience from looking at people's tax returns for 15 years, on, what were the behind the scenes conversations you guys had before it was okay, let's sign on the dotted line?
LOL.
We laughed because it was really 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah.
I think we both felt that divine timing feeling, and there's something to be said about female intuition that cannot be silenced. So we knew for a fact, no matter what the financial said, no matter what all of the logistics said, we were going to do this thing. So we signed on the dotted line before a lot of conversations were had. And that's been really cool about learning each other's communication styles and strengths and weaknesses and how best to support each other, actually, while we're running the company.
Yeah.
We've grown a ton. It's been over a year and a half, and we definitely both jumped in, like head first, just knowing this is what we're on this planet to do. Like, this is what we really feel called to do. And there is no reason other than God that we were totally brought together at this very moment to do it together. So, this last year, the last couple of months as the business has grown and taken off, it's presented a whole new series of challenges. Now we're looking at making, our first hires to the team, and we're starting to delegate and outsource, and now we have clients that we share responsibility for, and a lot of big life events coming up that are, we're just starting to plan for the future. But ultimately, we just knew, like, our values are so aligned that we could work through anything. And honestly, we just both had our hearts in it.
It sounds like my husband and I's marriage. Like,
yeah,
we met, we were married 4 months later, and then we had to date each other.
Exactly.
Figure it out. Tell us what new money means.
Yeah. So again, this is part of the evolution of how we have become so passionate working with female founders, is because so many women are truly part of this new money movement. They didn't inherit what they have created. They're building it themselves. And so you talk so much about this at Minted Wealth Live and shared a lot about your story, which, whether it was an exact replica of somebody else's story or not, it connected with everyone in the audience. The fact that I wasn't taught this, and no one has given me what I now have. I've truly created it and built it myself from the ground up. So all of us would love to come from old money, but that's not everyone's story. We're new money. And so the new money movement for us is really about supporting the women that are on this journey, but also want to create that legacy wealth. We don't want our kids to have to start over. We want to turn new money into old money, but it takes us going first. And so that message has really connected with a lot of the founders that we're working with, because they just see our passion for helping them, and we just see them for what they've created and how hard they've worked to do it.
What would you say to all the female founders listening, because we have so many of them, where they're like, I know that I need to have a financial advisor, but I feel like so many of them are ashamed to even say that they have nothing in place. So they just won't even make an appointment.
Well, I would just say to them, when I first started in wealth management, this is so embarrassing, but I'm just going to level with people. I walk up into this skyscraper building and I realize, I've been paying my rent through Venmo. I don't know what an ABA routing number on a check is. So we are all capable of learning. I believe Hannah and I's job is to be a translator. So don't feel bad about what you don't know. Finance is a different language. We literally had a client who was in creative art space, and Hannah literally broke down a concept in pottery form about a financial concept, and the client didn't feel like she was shameful that she didn't know a concept. Mm-hmm. She just felt like, you can connect with me. And by the way, I can do your job. I literally couldn't do, I hired a wedding planner. I couldn't do her job. So it's nothing to be ashamed about. Yeah.
I would love to chat about a mutual client of ours. We won't say her name, but that's how we came to meet, is you guys had an amazing female founder client. And how did you know that she needed a tax strategist?
Well, the writing was on the wall for how fast she was scaling that year. And I think that was kind of number one. We were checking a lot of boxes on the investment side because they had already done some things themselves and they were ready to delegate that out. But as we were going through the planning and we started to see what her revenue numbers were coming in, and she's a business that has pretty high profit margins, the writing was on the wall for me and Allie, okay, this is far beyond the strategies we are putting in place to save her money on taxes by, contributing to retirement accounts. adding, her spouse into the business. We're like, we need an expert here that can look at your situation and really take this a step further. So the more money you can save on taxes, now we can go and keep investing in the things that will continue to build your wealth. So for us, I mean, like we said, we've been, following your business for quite some time, and we just knew that you were going to be able to take her to the next level and provide the strategy that she needed, just given how quickly she was growing. And we are the Wealth Collaborative. So we focus on collaboration. Like Allie said, we can't do your job as tax strategist. We have tried to get really
just
dangerous.
like I can't do your job. I just know the things people need to do, but like I'm not putting your money in.
Exactly. We told a lot of people at the event, like we've taken your courses and been involved in a lot of what you teach so that we can be really dangerous and help guide clients through the conversation, but ultimately so that we can start to speak your team's language and really, as we're collaborating on behalf of those mutual clients, feel like the client can just feel like, oh my gosh, they all get it. They're all on the same page. I trust them and like really do right by the client. So that's what's been so cool about working with your team, with many clients, is they just feel like they have somebody that's just taking it off their plate.
Who is your ideal client? How much are they making? Or is it not how much are they making? Is it how much they have to invest?
Yeah, so this is so nuanced. We like to say take home of at least $250,000 between you, your spouse, whoever it is. But it's so nuanced, right? Because if you're making $250,000 but you're spending $300,000, your priorities might be on short-term needs like debt repayment. We can always point someone in the right direction, but that might not be the right time to be working with our team. So if you are someone who has money, you're not sure what to do with it, whether you started your own strategies, like you started contributing to an IRA or not, or you just have some cash and you don't know what to do with it, that's exactly where we come in. I will say too, while we are really supporting these women who are making new money, our background is also in people who have already exited companies, have come into hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you are someone that's also in more of the estate planning realm of financial planning, you're in that generational wealth side of things, we
Trust fund babies.
Trust fund babies. We also know the strategies there.
Yeah, we've really focused on making sure that we can actually help someone and give them the advice and guidance and support that they need, and of course provide the delegation so they can keep focusing on growing and making more money. So we don't have a minimum in terms of how much you have to have in assets to come work with us, and that is what a lot of financial advisors have out there. That's what gatekeeps the information, and that's what prevents getting, the advice you need, is because you got to have a $500,000 or $1 million portfolio to get in the door, just so their feed makes sense to justify them working with you, right? And giving you the time. So that's why, similar to how your firm is structured, values-based, we offer like a flat fee for strategy, for advice and guidance and advisory. So it really just allows us to bring on the right client that's ready to delegate, do the work.
Can you walk us through, so let's say it is that person that's $250 take home. Can you walk me through like a call with you? Like they're already onboarded, but like what are the topics you go through?
We like to focus on two things. That's protect and innovation, right? So protecting their assets is just making sure they have the things that they need set up. Their business is in the right structure. They have maybe a life insurance policy. They're protected. Their cash is literally in a business account instead of a personal account. We meet them where they're at. And then where it comes in with the innovation side, we really focus on creating custom strategies for all of our clients, which means we want to get to know you so well so that your strategy is completely custom to you. That is exactly why when Hannah talked about our fee structure, we don't favor a stock portfolio over a real estate portfolio. You can get the advice that you need depending on what's best for you, your family, and your goals.
Yeah, we start with that goals conversation with the first client. We actually go deeper though, and we'll ask about their money story, because we know that it's so important. It's so telling in how you make decisions and how a lot of times we're maybe working with spouses. So we ask them both the question, and maybe that's something they hadn't transparently opened up together. And so we're just putting it all out there because we're about to make some really big decisions. They're about to make some really big moves when they work with us. So we want to make sure we understand how they think about it, what their relationship with money is, you know, what's going to get in the way, what are going to be some of the hurdles that we can actually kind of, like you said, coach them through, like be that therapist for them just to help them move through and make these big moves. So we get to know their money story, we figure out what their goals are, and then we reverse engineer the strategy. Nothing is cookie cutter, and no one actually fits in this perfect box of here's steps 1 through 10. We're going to check them off in order. So that's what it looks like. It's pretty custom.
You mentioned like trust fund baby strategies. Can you just name some of those?
I'll tell you my favorite, and this one's a little bit selfish too because I just like administering them.
Okay.
There's something called the GRAT,
Yeah.
GRAT. It's a grantor retained annuity trust. We get into this world of planning for estate taxes, which, as you obviously know, the tax expert, can be up to 40%. So this is actually how
state tax.
Yeah. So this is actually how like the Walmart CEO would get money to his kids without a huge estate planning bill. Let's say you're the Walmart CEO. You have a ton of Walmart stock because that's how you got paid. You can actually put some of this Walmart stock into this trust. You have to pay yourself back some money throughout the duration of the trust, but what's left over at the end can get passed to your kids without having gift tax, estate tax. So I love that strategy, and people roll them all the time so you can keep them going for years and years.
I love that. But you have to have stock in the company, right?
And with the GRAT strategy, I'm pretty sure you can do real estate too. It's a lot harder to have appraisals and things like that. So I've only done it with stocks. I'll have to check back up on that though. 'Cause noted.
So now you guys have been working together for a few years and you're like besties and business partners. So how do you have the hard conversations and like how do you protect both your peace and your profit?
So when we first started working together it was middle of last year, we were constantly like voice memoing each other back and forth all the time, and we met in person in LA, and we kind of were like, okay, I think this is like that exciting phase. We were like texting all the time, you know, we were just like, we're gonna set some boundaries, right? We just set some boundaries for like 2-hour time difference on, hey, if I don't respond to you after this time, or if I don't get back to you on this time, or we just started to say, let's just create some healthy, you know, communication, because every relationship needs that, right? You don't want someone that's just texting you constantly like, why aren't you responding to me?
I do that with every friend of mine. They know that if they're texting me, it's for a friend thing. But if it's business, it has to be through email.
That's genius. Yeah,
I love that.
we have a separate like app that we communicate through and try to keep business, and then text is like, hey, what do you think of this outfit for Limited Wealth Live? Stuff like that. So it just kind of started with conversations around like, hey, how do you want to manage your life and business? And both of us are in similar but different phases of life. So we just kept really open conversations. But this summer, when we hit some major growth hurdles, it kind of was time for us to say, we need to assess how we communicate. And Allie came up with the idea for us to have monthly meetings called our Glows and Grows meeting. So it really is just a time that we honor, that we have on the calendar once a month, and we get pretty vulnerable with each other about like, hey, it's almost like our own version of going to therapy. Like, what's gone really well this month? What's one area where maybe we need to grow from, or an opportunity? And so we just really respect each other. We respect what we're building, and we definitely want to be the difference makers in the partnership world, because there's a lot of people that have a lot to say about them not being successful. So we're willing to put in the work.
I think too, a new tool that I learned. So when Hannah and I make decisions, sometimes when we're making an investment decision, I'm kind of very analytical about it. I need
And
to
you
know.
mean like an investment in the business?
Yes,
Okay.
investment in the business. I'm like, okay, give me all the details. I need to know what the ROI is going to be. And Hannah has this great like intuitive power that she can kind of tell like yes or no. So it's a different decision-making skill. Now, Hannah, when it comes to hiring or expanding our team, she has precautions with that, where I'm like, I feel like I can kind of feel the vibe with the person. Now, for both of us, we reflect to each other how we want to be treated. So when it comes to an investment, Hannah's like, okay, what do you need to know about this? Let's gather the details so we can both feel good about this decision. I reflect that back to her with like a hiring decision. Okay, what email do we need to send to get all of our questions answered before we make a decision together? We're not always perfect at it, but that's where that mutual respect comes in, and we just do the best that we can.
I love the glow and grow. I might have to add that into my meeting repertoire.
I picked that up from being a yoga instructor. That's how they would give us feedback. It was like, glow, grow.
That's so cute. How were some of your conversations at Minted Wealth Live?
So good. We both said that was probably the most life-giving couple of days that we've had this entire year. And just the ability to connect with people in person as they're having their own aha moments, and they are coming to us being like, this is what excited me. This is what is, feeling like a priority for me right now. Honestly, made our job and our role jumping into the conversation and like explaining how we can support them.
They were a sponsor of Minted Wealth Live. If you're like, why are they talking like that? They were a sponsor. Thank you so much. We would not be able to put on an event of that caliber without sponsors. And so we're so grateful. So they were able to chat with so many attendees from the event. So
So yesterday at Family Office Day, and Allie and I just getting to get to know a lot of these women so much deeper, and it also made it so fun. Like then they really saw how to connect their values to their money because they were connecting that all day through the conference on Monday. So it was so life-giving for us. And honestly, like, being in the finance world, anyone who's like a tax person, an estate planner, a financial advisor, it can take people a long time to just get to the decision or be ready to finally take the step. So it was so much fun seeing people finally like, this is the thing, I'm ready to go. I know I need to do this. And we were like, we're so proud of you.
Awesome. It's like Monday's like problem awareness, and then Tuesday's like, here's the solution.
It was
everywhere.
Awesome. Yeah, it was awesome.
I told Paige this was the best investment we've made in our business so far.
Oh, thank you.
Truly, because you have led people in a way where, like we talked about new money so much, I've been obsessed with this word multi-dimensional. You're not just giving people tax advice, you're teaching them that money is a tool to the things that they really want. You're opening up conversations. So it was so great to be in an environment like that where people's walls were down and we could just level. We're all just people at the end of the day. And so it was such a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it was so bougie and fun.
Yeah. Diamonds.
We got some diamonds.
Yes. So it is a money podcast. So we have to know, what do your 2026 investments look like in the business?
This is actually a really good question for us right now because I'm pregnant with our second and due in April. And Allie's getting married in the spring. And so we're actually going into a season of a lot of big life events in the beginning of the year. So our big focus is hiring. We are really looking to expand our team just to prepare for that season. So we have been part of a lot of amazing rooms. We have been in rooms that you've curated and have been so amazing. And so of course those opportunities are still coming up as well, but we're really ready to invest in people. And one of our other missions with the company is to bring along more women that would love to be part of a culture and a team that really fosters that collaboration and understands the lifestyle that they want to live as a woman in business. And so we're ready.
What type of team member?
Yeah.
In case they're listening.
We're deciding maybe a strategy person, somebody who can really come in and we can trust with supporting on the financial strategy side. I will say I remember a moment where I almost quit being in finance, and the career mentor we talked about said, if you feel like you don't belong, you're actually creating space for somebody else to belong. And I was like, oh, something I've created a goal since that day was to create space for other women in finance who don't feel like they belong. I'm so curious from you, what does it feel like to have that team? Are you so proud that you've created jobs and a culture where people like to work at your company?
Thank you. It was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life to hire the first full-time employee. So I get where you're at. It is so scary.
Yeah.
But if I could give any advice, it's I wish I would have hired sooner because I would have been able to scale faster. And the 20-hour days just were not sustainable. But I looked at it like, say I was hiring someone for like $60K for my first role. In my mind, I was like, $60K, I don't have the $60K. Like, but it's not $60K. It's $2,500 every 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So you might have that. And when you do that every 2 weeks, one, you're going to grow and scale faster because you know that you're responsible for someone else's like well-being and families. And it's just like a lot easier of a pill to swallow to be like, it's just that. But now I have like 35 full-time employees. So like every 2 weeks is more than what I made in a year at my last job. It's like crazy. But I know that every time I make space from my schedule by hiring a team member, I can make more money. And like, honestly, my favorite thing is paying payroll every 2 weeks. Like, I know that I'm supporting 35 families and that every year I also evaluate our benefits package. So like, you don't have to offer any benefits at first, but then it's like, okay, I can add this one thing. I think the first thing we offered was health insurance. Actually, I think the first thing was short-term disability, long-term disability, because it's so inexpensive. Yeah. And then it's like, you just slowly build the benefits stack and just make it better. But yeah, it's really hard the first hire, but then you'll be addicted.
Yeah. Was your first hire admin or strategy?
Great question. My very first hire was admin because it was like, get all the silly tasks off my plate. But then my like hire number 3 was Crystal, who's my COO. And like, I would not be able to have the business without her. So as much as you can, like hire the integrator because you both are such great visionaries and you do have big goals and visions for the company. It's like you want to focus on that while you have someone executing on the vision.
Yeah. Love the free mentorship. So good. And for everyone else out there, but that was a lot for us.
Yeah.
That was good.
So where can everybody find you? You have a great checklist that I think everyone listening should download.
Yeah.
Maybe tell them where they could snag that.
Yes, so we have the wealth building checklist and we can give y'all the links so they can download that in the show notes. That is really our step-by-step guide. If you're someone who's just looking at your financial picture, feels like this is so chaotic, I don't know where to start. It is the exactly where to put your money and in what order. So the checklist has been so helpful for people who are just ready to take the next step. But we hang out a lot on Instagram at The Wealth Collaborative, and we also have a podcast called The New Money Podcast.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Barb.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Life Changing Money. Don't forget to subscribe, and I would love if you left a review and shared it with your friends. See you next time.